One of the more complicated legal documents that we're going to provide, the General Durable Power of Attorney, also known simply as a financial power of attorney, is a document that authorizes someone to step into our shoes and manage all non-medical decisions if we are still alive but have become incapacitated. This document is very important for purposes of us avoiding a probate proceeding called conservatorship. Now, in this video, we're going to do a shortened overview of the document. For the more complete video going through nearly every section, please check the website for the full version. For purposes here, I will share the document and process through the major points. As you review your own document, you may have specific questions or specific issues that are only related to your plan. So as you may have those, just please make any particular note of those sections, and then you can, of course, follow up with any questions, revisions, etc. Now, for purposes of the general power of attorney, we do always provide a table of contents, which should be appearing on your screen now. When we go through this, we're going to highlight the key sections that we want you at least to skim through. But for all purposes, you are welcome to read every single sentence of every single page and make any notes or questions. Now, as we proceed through this, I will simply focus on the table of contents for this simplified review video. At the outset of the document, there will be a list of people. Section 101 will always contain the first person or people that I am listing to step into this role for me. And then section 102 will identify any backups or successors. So in your document, make sure that the people you've listed are still the best people, make sure their names are spelled correctly, etc. And if we need to make any changes, just make a note of that and we'll make those updates for you. One section of the document that we do recommend people review is Article 2, which is going to provide an overview of what that incapacity is. Generally, we are going to make our own decisions and manage our own affairs until we lose the ability to do so. And losing that is called incapacity. But we need a process. We need a way to determine that I have lost that ability. And so Article 2 is going to provide a process by which we make a determination of incapacity. So I do recommend that you review this simply to understand the different ways that incapacity is identified. And then Article 3 will be the longest section of your document by far. This is going to provide a very detailed, very lengthy overview of all of the powers that a person has in their ability to step into our shoes. Now, I always tell people start by looking at the table of contents because there are pieces here that are fairly obvious, such as the power to manage my bank accounts or the power regarding my taxes. Some pieces don't apply to us. Like most clients don't have oil and gas interests, as an example. But we always want to plan for the possibility that these things could happen. So we want to make sure we leave those powers in here if that situation comes up later. And then lastly, some other powers here are fairly vague in terms of how they're titled. So we do recommend just skim through the table of contents. As you may want to review any of these more closely, just turn to them. Most of these are a paragraph or two long. They're not difficult to read. It's just that there's a lot. To understand the power of attorney, please know that this is a recitation of all of the powers that a person has by default under our statutes stepping into these roles. So there's oftentimes nothing unusual. There's nothing special that we write into clients' power of attorney. It's here based on what somebody's automatically allowed to do. But as you have any questions or concerns that come up, please feel free to note those and we can respond to that. The full video on the website regarding this document has a very detailed breakdown of every single one of these powers, so please feel free to review that if you have more questions. Lastly, at the end of the document, there will be some specific sections we're going to highlight. If you have children under the age of 18, we will always include guardian nominations. These are typically in section 503. This is to ensure that if I can't provide care for my child for any reason because I'm incapacitated, that there's somebody who can step into my shoes and take over that care while I'm still alive. So there will be a list of people here. That same list of people will be listed in your will, so make sure that it's correct. If you want to adjust those people for any reason, just let us know. 504, as listed here, reimbursement for expenses. When someone steps into our shoes, they may put out money from their own pocket towards expenses that we may incur, such as paying the CPA to file our taxes each year. So, of course, if somebody pays one of our expenses, they are entitled to be reimbursed for that from our money later. In 505 of this document, amendment and revocation, just remember that any document we create, we can change. As long as we are still here and can still understand the decisions we're making, we can update, we can change, we can amend, or we can even revoke any estate planning document for the rest of our lives. What's listed in section 506 of this document, resignation, it's just important to remember that nobody is required to do any of these jobs for us. If the time has come around for them to serve and they can't serve, maybe they're sick, maybe they just don't want to, that's okay. They can step down. It's a very simple process. And then we'll drop down to the next person who's listed. That's why we always want to have backups here. And the final piece in what's section 509 of this document, effect of duplicate originals or copies. Remember that we're going to provide you a binder of your original estate plan documents. We'll also digitize everything. And so if somebody needs a copy of your document, you can email them a copy, you can print them a copy. It doesn't matter. You do not have to hand out originals to people. You're going to keep those forever. So for purposes of this simplified sharing, that is all we're going to cover for the general power of attorney. For a more in-depth review, like I mentioned, go ahead and watch our full video. And then afterwards, as you may have notes or questions, just provide those back to us. Thank you very much.